Thank you for watching part one, and this right here is part two.
Are you willing to pack up your entire home and move your family to a completely different neighborhood just so your children are not the only Black children and they can grow up with others that look like them? It's okay to admit that you do not have all the answers. Being the best parent you can be means that you ask those questions and that you seek out that support and help from others. It really does take a village. As a white woman, I cannot give my Black children all that they need. Yes, I said it. I will admit it. I need help. Are you going to allow some influence in your child's life from African American people? That is a huge question to ask yourself. Are you willing to do that? And I'm going to tell you, for the sake of your child, you have to. You have to. You may look at your children not by the color of their skin, but their beautiful smile or the way they cuddle and as your sweet babies that you love so much. But the world is going to see them as Black and white. It's so important for your children to have relationships with people that look like them so they may learn the non-verbal communication skills of the Black culture. So join those amazing resources that your agency put in place for you. Find those cool, supportive Facebook groups like Mothers of Black Sons. Ask questions. Take them to a protest. Stand by them. Take them out of that all-white school. Let them cohabitate and learn and grow with others that look like them. Put in that work for your child. Again, I encourage you to.
So I just want to pause there. So when it comes to the parents who actually actively make sure that they're putting themselves outside of their comfort zone and maybe moving to a more diverse environment, right, or community, and maybe changing schools that have more Black children or mixed children or just more diversity, right? So one thing that my adopted father told me, I'll never forget this, when we were just talking about like our experience and racism and how, I live in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and it's pretty diverse, right? And even within the Bay Area, I've had a few instances actually where it was like very racist scenarios and experiences I've had with white people, right? And so sometimes me and my dad and my mom will talk about, reflect on these situations. And now we kind of just laugh about it because some of the stories are pretty ridiculous. But one, thing my dad said is, after like when we adopted you, like it kind of put a mirror in front of me to the point where I had to like see myself and my relationship to people that didn't look like me, specifically Black people. Like there were times where I was biased, right? And my judgment got in the way of the way that I saw another Black man or another Black person, right? I like the fact that he was that vulnerable with me and he was that open with me, right? Because I didn't judge him, because obviously I understand like there's a stereotype that's out there about Black people that you guys are fed. So of course you're going to believe that until you're forced to have like personable like relationships with Black people and you find out, oh, actually like they're just like everybody else, right? So I really enjoyed that he was vulnerable with me in that situation, and for him to just say, hey, listen, like I had my biases. So, and I think he's appreciative of the experience he's had,
Yeah, well, I completely get that. My parents too, like when they got older, when I became an adult, they had to also hold a mirror up to themselves too. They're like, yeah, there's biases that I had to realize I had to check. And my mom was very vocal about that too. And so was my dad. And because he used to say things like, well, I don't really see color. And he thought that he was kind of didn't really see color. Like it was a good thing to say, but it's like, no, not necessarily. You have to see color, because in order to understand a Black person, you have to see their color and see what they experience being a Black person. It's not enough to say, oh, I don't see color, because that makes you ignorant. So growing up, and so of course they used to say things that were a little, biased and stuff like that. Sometimes I'm like, it kind of gave me a little ping like, oh my gosh, I'm black, you got black children. But you know, they saw that and they're like, yeah, we apologize for some of that stuff, and also checking their biases and stuff like that. Of course, some of their biases they still haven't checked, because I feel like for me personally, yeah, it's like they had more of a plight in understanding my black brother and what his
Mhm.
plight is versus me as a black woman. And then when I was talking about my stuff, it kind of became like, oh, you hate white people and you hate white women. But one thing how and I can differentiate in helping anyone out who was adopted, and she's gonna be able to help you more with um, you know, adoptees who still have a relationship with their parents versus me, who I no longer have a relationship with my adoptive parents, adoptive family at all, because some of the things that they weren't willing to face and, you know, take accountability and have conversations and all that stuff. It's just for the best. But yeah, they weren't willing to necessarily look at my plight as a black woman and understand me. And it's
Mhm.
like they didn't, yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, and that's why, I'm so happy that we started this channel because so
Mhm.
many relationships could be saved. You guys won't have the best of the best relationship. You won't be best friends, but at least you'll have that foundation of understanding the plight of each
Mhm.
other. And
Mhm.
because so many of the stuff that me and you have talked about that has happened in your personal
Mhm.
relationship with parents, I feel
Mhm.
like that could have like there's solutions for so many of those like problems had there been
Yeah.
more like openness, right? And not such a taboo around the topics that we're going to be discussing, that we are actively discussing, right? So
Yeah.
that's why I appreciate this lady and I appreciate us starting our channel, because almost all of my friends that are adopted, especially
Mhm.
from Africa, transracially adopted, don't have a relationship with their adoptive family at all.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it comes from, yes, you know, having openness. Like I like Christy, she's open. And it
Mhm.
comes the only way to be able to fix our relationships is to be open and talk about it and then not feel like your adoptive kid is attacking you.
Mhm.
And then being like, oh, they're so ungrateful. We have done all this stuff for them and they just, you know, are doing this. It's like there's more to it than that. You have to be able to sit and talk to your child. And it's like you can't have a relationship when a person doesn't see you and they don't
Mhm.
understand who you are. Like, how does that, like, I'm not gonna try and
Mhm.
pretend, because with my family, they try to put me in a box. And I'm like,
Mhm.
that's not who I am. And because I wasn't willing to fit into that box, the
Mhm.
relationship wasn't gonna work. And I'm like, I'm not going to continue to pretend to be somebody that I'm not. So in
Yeah.
order to have a good relationship with your adoptive parents and stay in contact, they have to be able to actually hear you.
Right. Right. Absolutely. You want to go ahead and play it?
Think about this, of how important a strong presence in your child's life is. Let's talk hair. Culturally, black hair is so incredibly important for a young girl's confidence.
Mhm.
You may have seen me do my daughter's hair several times on YouTube. I will list a bunch of videos that I think are very important for all future adoptive parents to watch. In those videos, it's not just me telling you how I do my daughter's hair, but I'm sharing some very important topics that are very important to me, and I feel every foster parent needs to learn and be educated on this. So please, after you're done with this video, please do check out the links below and educate yourself on the importance of hair care in the Black culture. There's so many videos, Pinterest posts, and hair groups out there. There is an amazing natural hair group on Instagram I will put below as well. It is my absolute favorite. I really suggest you follow them. Another thing that you need to do for your Black child is do not stay quiet. Stand up for yourself and your child. I'm going to quickly run through a couple really personal experiences that my family has dealt with. I remember being in Walgreens when my twins were only about 4 or 5 months old, and my husband and I went to the checkout, and a lady asked if the children were adopted, and we said yes. By the way, I don't do that now, but back then I was still learning how to navigate and how to communicate and to what to say back to people. But this lady looked at my husband and said, "How come you didn't adopt children that look like you?" I can
I want to stop this right here because I have a couple of stories, or two stories, anyways. And
Yeah.
the same thing, something happened, something similar happened at Walgreens, not necessarily with me, but with my adopted brother. And he
Mhm.
was like 4 or 5 years old, and he was walking in with my grandma, and somebody said, "Look at that little N word." And of course, my grandma, she didn't really do anything. She just kept walking because she's like, one, I didn't want to say anything because that person might be crazy. So I just kind of ignored it
Yeah.
and walked away, which is completely understandable. And what's my other story I was gonna tell?
Girl, there's probably so many. I have a story. I mean, actually, there's been quite a few different stories. A lot of it has to do with like skin color, right? Just
Mhm.
like, oh, like I went to Disneyland. Disneyland, out of all places, where you would think, everybody who goes there has seen people of all color, all races, because
Yeah.
Disneyland is just a flood of different cultures.
Mhm.
And this little girl, we're in the elevator, and this little girl, she's like, she comes up to me and she starts like touching my skin. And at this time, I had like
Oh, goodness.
box braids, and this little girl, and I was young, so I didn't know what to do. And she was like touching
Yeah.
my skin. She's like, oh, you're black. Your skin is black. Why is your skin black? And her white mom, was so embarrassed. Like, she was like, you could tell her whole face turned red. She was like so flustered. And my mom, she just kind of like
Yeah.
smiled, and she was like, "Oh yeah, that's her skin color. Everyone has different skin colors." And it's like, why
Yeah.
does my mom have to teach your child about different skin colors?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so there's been real racist points as well. There's one time, speaking of, as a parent having to speak out and not just be on the sidelines or not speak up. There was a
Mhm.
scenario. So my family is part of this like really bougie like gym,
Mhm.
like what do you like country club membership kind of place. And so everyone there for the most part is white, like white, wealthy and everything. And I remember, I've been going there since I was like 8 years old, since I got
Mhm.
adopted. And I remember I was in the locker room, and this lady, she just seemed like she didn't have a couple of screws up here. And we were in like the dressing room, and she's going around talking to people, whispering, the ladies in the dressing room. And I'm looking at everybody talking to her, whispering to her, and looking over at me. And people were like shaking their head and like walking away from her, right? Like not wanting to
Yeah.
deal with her. And then she comes up to me, and I'm wondering, I'm like, what is everyone talking about? They're whispering, and I'm like, are they talking about me? Because most part, everyone at that place is very nice to me. They've seen me, they know who I am. I've been going there for years. And
Mhm.
the lady comes up to me and she's like, are you a member here? And I'm like,
Karen.
not
Karen.
even a Karen, just a bitch. And I was like, excuse me? And she's like, yeah, like, are you a member here? Because I've never seen you here before. And they just sometimes they let random people in here. And I'm like, okay, first of all, you're talking to a little girl like this, right?
That's fucking
And I'm just like, have you ever thought about the fact that I've been here for a long time and you're just starting to come here? I've never seen you here before. Let's flip the question around, right? So, regardless, anyways, I handled it classy, and I was just kind
mhm.
of didn't pay her too much attention to her.
Yeah.
And then I told my mom about it because I was like, this crazy lady. Actually, my friend, my white friend, she's Jewish. She was with me.
Yeah.
And she's
Mhm.
like one of those girls, like she will tell you how it is. She was like, let's go confront that lady. She's crazy as hell. She wanted to cuss her out. And I was like, no, it's fine. It's fine. I told my mom about it. And then my mom was like, that crazy racist lady, that's some racist ass shit. And she
Yeah.
was like, and so my mom was so pissed. She was very, very pissed. And she went to the club. She went to the place, and she told them, she was like, my daughter just had this racist experience with this lady. I don't know who this lady is, but my daughter has been a member there since she was 8 years old. And, just standing
Yeah.
up for me as she should. Later on, the club membership, they told us that that lady is actually crazy, and
Oh,
she causes a lot of problems for everybody. She's usually
okay.
cussing out people, or and the funny thing about it is, later, being the mature person I am, even as a
Uh-huh.
very young child, because this is what happened when I was like a teenager. And I
Yeah.
remember I saw the same lady a different time,
Yeah.
And this was like in the hot tub. And started talking. I was like, hey, like, why did
Uh-huh.
you feel like it was okay for you to even say such a thing to me?
Yeah.
I've been a member here since I was 8 years old. You're
Yeah.
probably just started a few months. So
Yeah.
do you just go around asking everybody this type of question?
Yeah.
And she was like, oh no. Then she started just like acting like a victim. And she was like, oh no. She's like, you know,
Ugh.
seen, and it just got worse about Mazda. She was like, I've had several experiences up here at this club where some black people are just following me and they're spying on me. So I wanted to see if you were a spy. And I was like, wow. You think there's only 3 black people in this whole city, like that I would be associated with them? So, anyways, it was just such a ridiculous. I
And
just looked at this lady and I
yeah.
was, I cannot even have a conversation with you because you're just not here.
So
You
all the black people that you see, that like you said, the 3 black people in that country club,
thought they
they were
were.
out there to
She
get you, and they were
said the
following
black
you.
people. She said the black people and the Russians have been spying on her, and that's why she had to double check that I wasn't spying on her. So
Definitely sounds like she's a little cuckoo.
she was a
Yeah.
little cuckoo. But
Yeah.
anyways, I just
That
appreciated how my mom, she went to bat for me with that situation. And so, it's small things like that that really make a difference in your child's life. There's going to be so many awkward situations and events that may happen in your child's life that, you have to be the one person that they feel comfortable coming to, and they have
Mhm.
to feel like you would actually either do something about it and really go to bat for them, or you'll be able to have a conversation where it's mature and supportive of their experiences and not invalidate what they're going through.
Yeah, but I also remember another story where my grandparents actually, Christy talked about how somebody asked her, like, why would you adopt black kids? And my grandparents asked the same question to my parents when they were. They said, "There's so many kids to be adopted here. Why do you have to go all the way to Africa to adopt black kids?" And of course, when we came and they saw us, they were so repentant. They felt so bad. They're like, "I am so sorry. I said that. I don't know what I was
Mhm.
saying." And they fell in love with us right away. They changed their
Yeah.
mind. They loved us, and to this day, I love them. And they realized what they said was wrong, and it
Yeah.
was so. I'm like, I don't hold it against them because they realized what they said and did was wrong, and they apologized about it. And they're so nice. They're so sweet.
Yeah, and sometimes it's the comments inside of the family, right? Like, just imagine, like,
Mm,
if I'm having as an adoptee a hard time
mm,
navigating these conversations, imagine what I would be facing with the outside world, right? So you really have to be a strong support system for these kids. And
mhm.
just one more story, like my sister, for example, my adopted sister, ended up asking my mom, she was like, why does Howard only like hanging out with black people? And it was like, she asked her when she was young, but still it was
Yeah.
like, okay, like, why do you only
Yeah.
hang out with white people? That's all you hang out with. So
Why do you only hang out? Yeah, that's a good question. Why do you only hang out with white people and not black people? Not
right,
makes no
like,
sense.
why do you only hang out? It's like being like, you're going to, you're a nerdy person. Why do you only hang out with nerds? Because that's
They
the type of
understand you.
people I gel with and understand me.
Yeah.
But it's just like, obviously that she was young, she was asking that question. It wasn't the
Yeah.
smartest question, but it's kind of like that's the reality though. People actually think like
Yeah.
that. So being able
Yeah.
to again have those hard conversations inside the household is so important so that your child feels comfortable to have those conversations with you when it happens outside of the household.
Clearly remember looking at my husband and seeing the pain, the anger, and the frustration in his eyes as he dumbfoundedly stared back at this lady. I grabbed my husband's hand, we took our babies, and we left Walgreens. That was probably the first eye-opening experience. There has been more, much worse, but this is the one that I felt I needed to share. The audacity of this lady, seriously. If I did not take my husband out of there at that moment, I know he would have said something that he would have regretted. But looking back on that moment, I was very disappointed in myself. I stayed quiet. I did not stick up for my family. I did not stick up for my husband, and I did not stick up for my children. I have replayed that situation over and over in my head for many years. My twins are now 8 years old. And I have thought about the best comeback. And by doing that, I've been able to handle many situations after that with grace and with the most satisfying response. So I encourage you to stick up for your children, stick up for your family, and don't stay quiet because your children are watching. I remember another mom leaning over to me one day at a spring sing at my kid's school and saying, wow, your son Ace is gonna be a really famous NFL player one day. And I remember looking at her like, in my head, why? Because he's black? And I was just like, well, you know, I can totally see him as a professor or a really strong political candidate because he is so smart and he has a way with words.
Okay, I just want to say props to her for coming up with those. Yes, the kind of energy we
That's
need.
great.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like that's the kind of energy we need. That's one thing I love and appreciate about white people. You guys are really good with the is it called
Comebacks.
mean nasty comebacks? I mean,
Yeah. Nice, nasty. Nice,
comebacks.
nasty.
Where
Yeah.
it's like it's gonna put them in the right spot, but no one is gonna turn an eye and think you're bitch. So that is the kind of energy that we need, though, because it just shows one, you're not gonna mess with my family. These are the people that I ride for, and don't influence your stereotypes, your biases onto my child. You see what I'm saying? Like that's a beautiful comeback. I love that.
Yeah, like take it somewhere. Like, not all Black people out here just want to be in sports and professional. Like, we actually are very, very smart. Like we're more than just about sports and
right.
But Chrissy, that was amazing response.
Yeah.
People can be so ignorant, but it's our job to stick up for our children. Moving along, it's very important to have a positive and open communication with your child. It really sets the tone for a healthy relationship where they can come to you and tell you about everything. I want to know about every situation my child experienced racial profiling or any type of racism or any type of situation that they experienced that hurt their feelings or made them feel uncomfortable. I want to know every single time. You know, you have to talk to your kids about racism, about police brutality. I have to talk about racial undertones and all those tough conversations and things that happen in the harsh world that they may encounter. Actually, they will encounter. Whether we want to admit it or not, they are going to experience these things. My Black children walk into a room and their narrative is already written. I, as their mother, would rather teach them and prepare them for those situations. Prepare them for not knowing what a person is thinking in their head. We don't know if they're racist. We don't know if they're not. So we need to teach them how to behave and how to act because we just don't know what kind of people our children are going to encounter. I want my children to know where my husband and I and our family stand, what our core values are. I have privileges that my children do not have. As a white mother, I have to work triple hard to instill that Black culture, values, harsh history, and education into my children. I have to commit to giving those tough conversations time after time and learning more to bring more to the table each and every time I have that conversation. Unfortunately, my daughter at school dealt with a racial comment when I was not present. When she came home and told me how she handled it, I was so proud. I did that. I taught my daughter how to deal with it, what to say. I equipped her with the knowledge and the words to say back to that person who made the racist comment to her. This is what I want for you. I want you to be prepared. I want you to educate yourselves, and I want you to know what to say to your child.
Okay, so we're gonna stop there with the video. You can go onto her channel. We'll We're gonna tag her to watch the rest of it. The channel's pretty great. She shows you how, you know, to do Black kids' hair or Black girls' hair and all that stuff. And she's pretty, you know, I really like her. She's a pretty cool person. And definitely go ahead and finish the rest of the video. We've watched most of it, but I think there's probably like 5 minutes left or 3 minutes left of it.
Yeah. So thank you so much again, Christy, for creating that video. I, all of the stuff that you're saying sounds really good. And, to me, it sounds genuine. It doesn't sound like it's just stuff that you're just creating just for YouTube and just for content or clout. So it sounds authentic to me. And I think you're really on the right track. And I really appreciate you for creating this content for people who look like you, who are adopting, right? Because sometimes, people need people that look like them to tell them a message. So I really appreciate that. And hopefully, we're able to actively, just through small movements and baby steps, create like a little dent in the adoptive community. So yeah.
So to create a better understanding. All right, well, that's the rest of the video, guys. Once again, thank you so much for joining us in this new episode. I hope you liked it. I hope it was, informative. If you have any questions, write them down, write them in the comments, or reach out to us personally. And do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.